the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets casted as top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just drop. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Geeks Vegas Lines DFS and Betting Angles Breakdown. It is week 17 of the 2020 NFL regular season. Final week of the year. Always a fun week, John. And speaking of John, I've got my man, John Alessia, the sports gambling and DFS GOAT himself, top 20 in every category. He's that guy who's beating you in tournaments. When you're looking up, you're like, who's that motherfucker? And it's him. It's him. Yeah. It's you. What's up, John?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I was cursing you the other day. I was like, who's that motherfucker? Oh, yeah, wait, it's John. No. Okay. Like, who just fucking knocked me out of... Oh, yeah, it's him again. That's what happens. I was only in first place for like the first, hour of the slate. It's never.
Which one? Was on Sunday?
On Sunday. It's always at the beginning of the slate. That first part.
Oh, yeah. Well, things look... usually, like, things look good. That's why, obviously some people will play when you have those, like, two-game slates, like or primetime. People force the first... Yeah, and it's like, that's been going on for years. Where people will get heavy.
I don't actually believe people do it. Like, even in MMA...
I think some people do.
The stack of the first fight thing, I just think it happns and we notice it.
Yeah,
first fight. I don't think they were doing it on purpose. Again, I also didn't think somebody's playing Mariota on purpose, in a showdown. And then he's like, no, I do that every showdown. Like, oh, okay. You do. You've been waiting for years for this.
Wait. Hey, look, it pays off, eventually.
It was worth it. All right. So week 17 is a big week because of motivation, right? The most important thing that we have to figure out is which teams are motivated to play, not just like at 1 o'clock, but the 4 o'clock games. Sometimes going into a slate, teams have a motivation that gets sucked away by the time they're playing. So it's super critical in week 17. It's one of my favorite weeks of DFS, actually. There's two things, and I want to talk to you about both of them. But it's one of my favorite weeks of DFS because you can eliminate some games real quick, and you can make decisions about what you do with unmotivated teams, for example. And so I want to cover that with you a little bit here right now. So first of all, let's go through the scenarios. I promised the people we're going to find out who's motivated and who's not. So I'm just going to give it to you, John. Here's what we have so far. Week 17. There are 3 teams that I've identified and or at least have announced so far or probably will, where they're going to be resting starters in week 7. They don't have much to play for or nothing to play for. And they'll be resting starters in week 17. Number 1 is the Chiefs. They've already, I don't know have they announced that they're resting their guys? They've done it every year.
I haven't heard any announcement, but I think we can anticipate that.
Yeah, and the line movement will show some of this as well. And that's why when we get into the lines, we'll cover this on these specific games. The next one is the Bills. The Bills really don't have anything to play for as well. And they're highly likely, I think they play later, they're highly likely to be resting players. And finally, the Steelers have already said we're not playing Ben, we're not playing anyone in week 17. So that's the trio of teams, the stay away group, in my opinion. Backups, a disaster. Play defenses against, and if they're facing a team that has motivation, that team is in a very good spot. Any thoughts on those 3 at all?
Specifically those teams, no, but just in general, you do have to be a little bit careful. I mean, basically play it the way the line sets up. Play it that way. If it's still a tight line, what's going to happen is the totals are going to come down. We'll go through a bunch of them. A lot of the totals are going to come down because sometimes these games are going to look like preseason. Teams don't score as much. But yeah, you can still pick your spots. I wouldn't totally necessarily eliminate playing players from games where maybe teams aren't playing. We'll have to, there might be some spots where we're going to want guys.
Now, what's your opinion on this, on the backup guys on these teams that don't want to win or don't need to win? Because I'll tell you what I've done. I don't play them, period. I don't take the value. I don't play them, and I never have in Week 17. It's just not how I like to approach Week 17 at all. I'm not playing Mason Rudolph. I'm not playing whoever Chad Henne is. I'm not doing it. That's just not how I'm going to approach the week. But some people will want to play those guys. What's your approach to it?
I said and we'll go through. There's going to be some of those guys I'm going to want to play, and as we'll go through. Right. We'll talk about it. But you got to be careful too from a betting standpoint, and that's we like to talk about the lines and whatnot here. I've made a lot of money through the years betting against those teams that are playing for something, not blindly, of course, but and I'll have people all the time. They're like, "How can you play that team? They're out of it, and this team needs a win to get in." And it's as if no one's ever watched Week 17s in the NFL before. I mean, how many teams lose to crappy teams? Team that's trying to get in, they need to win, and they lose to a crappy team. I mean, it happens. I mean, the Jets beat the Rams this year, so I mean, the Jets were arguably playing for something on the other side. So I mean, anything can happen. These games and a lot of these teams, you've been playing. A lot of these teams have been dead for weeks, and you get to play a team that's needs to win to get into the playoffs or is trying to win. It's a big. I don't know. If you ever played sports and you sort of had nothing to play for. Maybe you were on a team that was out of it, whatever sport you were playing in. As soon as you get that chance to now play in a game that's big, not for necessarily for you, but for the other team, it fires you up and you want to win. You want to go out there and play hard. You'll see these teams are playing these games like it's their playoffs. I'm talking about the teams now that are going to play their regular starters and they're out of it. Not necessarily the teams that are going into the playoffs and resting guys.
Absolutely. That motivation. The motivation is to knock your rival out of the playoffs. That's your own version of the playoffs. So they do have a lot of motivation. And, being on someone who played on teams that rarely won, I certainly can relate to that. So let's just go through a couple of these other teams. Before we do the whole breakdown, we're just going to throw out some other teams. Basically, every playoff team besides those three has something to play for. The closest thing to or every team chasing the playoffs. And I mean, I have these written out on my sheet this week for everybody to go back and reference. I kind of wrote this stuff out in a little notes section on the top. But in the AFC, you've got the Titans, Dolphins, Ravens, Browns, and Colts all needing a win to secure a playoff spot. When we go over to the NFC, every single playoff team needs to win, all the way up from the Packers. Like if the Packers lose, there's a possibility Seattle or the Saints getting the number one seed, which is that bye week, which is actually important. Every single team needs to win. Bucks are the most interesting one for me. The Rams need to win. The Washington Cardinals, they all need to win to secure their spot. The one that's really interesting is the Bucks because they're currently going to be either the 5th or the 6th seed. And if the Bucks get this win, they'll probably be the 5th seed, which gives them NFC East as their opponent. If they fall to the 6th seed, you don't want the 6th seed because the 6th seed probably gets either, Seattle or New Orleans or Green Bay, whoever loses tomorrow. So you don't want the 6th seed. I don't know how much that motivates teams that they worry about who the opponent is, but I think it's important to note, there is a good reason for the Bucks to play out the game. The other thing I've noticed in Week 17 is veterans, especially old veterans, and I'll give you a name like a Matt Ryan. That's a little sketchier of a situation, the old dudes, than younger teams. I have no doubt that the Chargers are going to roll out Herbert, that the Eagles, I don't know if they're motivated to win or not, but the Eagles are going to roll out Hurts and they're going to play their young guys and let them play out the game. The Jets are going to play Darnold the whole game or whatever. Old guys, like a Matt Stafford, for example, or an old guy on a team that's not making the playoffs, there's a lot more possibility there of like if the team's losing halfway, they just even if they didn't say they were going to do it, they just bench them and they bring out some youngsters and see what they're doing, at least in the third and fourth quarter, which we don't fucking want. So we got to avoid those situations. So let's get right into it. For anybody who's new to the show, hasn't been here before, here's what we do. We go through all of the game, and now pretty much every game is on the slate except for a Sunday night game. There's no Thursday. There's no Monday. So it's a lot of games, and we're going to pick 4 of these games that we're going to call the core 4. Going to do a little bit more in depth of a breakdown, and then we're going to try to rapid fire through the rest of these games, although we usually end up going pretty in depth about every game because that's how we roll around here. So strap it in, put on your belt, and get ready for the ride, man. You ready for the core 4?
I'm ready.
I kicked Falcons Bucks out of the core 4, by the way. I know we discussed them, but I'm kicking them out of the core 4. They don't feel core 4. I think they belong there, but man, it's the 5th game. There's 5 games I really like. So with high spread. So we'll talk about them all, though. So here we go. Let me bring up my screen and the odds board. We're going to start with the core 4. The first game on the docket, we've got the Vikings and the Lions with a 54-point total. Vikings favored by 7 on the road in the Dome. I like the indoor game at the end of December, John. Vikings will be without Dalvin Cook, which I think is a positive for us in terms of figuring out where the offense is going to come from. Vikings are out of the playoffs, as are the Dolphins. So these are 2 teams that have no reason to play other than just to play it out. No reason to rest anyone, but no reason to play. Now, John, in a situation like this, you've got a 7.5 point, 6 or 7. And how important is it to fucking shop this line? I mean, it's 6.5 or 7. Like, guys, get the 6.5. Yeah. But really important to shop that line. 6.5 point favorite, 54. That's a massive game total for kind of a weird game where, Stafford's hurt or he's got the back issues going on. He might not play. I mean, if Stafford doesn't play, that Detroit Lions offense just looks like dog shit without him for the most part. This number's high, John. What the hell's going on here, man? It's a high number to me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to. It's a high number.
Which number? The spread?
4.5. That's a fucking high game total. They might be without Stafford in this game.
I think that total is based on Stafford playing, and I think they're anticipating him coming in. So I mean, if it might not be a bad under bet on the off chance that he's out. If he's out, then it's going to be tough to get to that. You saw how bad that offense looked without Stafford.
It's terrible. That's what I'm saying. Or Stafford with the bad back is just one hit away from coming out of the game. But I looked at it from a different point of view because I don't like. I looked at it like, hey, I love Swift. I want to see him play in this matchup. But if Stafford comes out, I don't know if as I was evaluating the players, I don't know if I want to play Swift with Chase Daniel at the helm.
It changes everything, absolutely. But yeah, the other side with Cook, I mean, unfortunate. I don't know exactly what the circumstances were with his dad, but yeah, he's out. That's I know he's out. Yeah, no, I just mean with his dad. I don't know exactly what happened, but I heard about that today, which is terrible news. But yeah, so they don't miss. I mean, as good as Cook is, they don't miss a ton running the ball when he's not in there. So they've got a pretty good backup there in Madison. But yeah, let's go on to the assumption here that Stafford's playing. If Stafford's playing this game, you don't like this game to go over even with Stafford, or you're just worried about him getting hurt?
If Stafford I do worry about him getting hurt, and I worry about the veteran status. If you're old and you have back issues and you're kind of banged up, why would you stay out there and finish out a game?
Well, my thing is, why would he even play? So if he's going to play, then I just assume that he's going to finish the game. If you want to do your lineups and then, or maybe figure out what your allocations are going to be, and then maybe adjust it a little bit lower to compensate for that. That's one way to go about it. I'm not going to go into too much detail on how I do that. But
I think the angle here is, I think you gamble right now that he doesn't play, and you hit the under today before you find out.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think that's because obviously, I mean, the game could still go under with Stafford. I think you take a shot. You could play the under, and then
Like,
yeah, I mean, if you want to get off it, you just bet the. You could always bet the other side.
You could always say, as of right now, so the news that's out is he wants to play, blah, blah, blah. But what do we know? The guy got knocked out with an ankle last week. He's got the back issues. Like, this guy is just banged up.
That looked like the softest injury I've ever seen last week. I mean, it looked like if they were in contention or anything like that, he was coming back in. That game was, by the time he, that was like the first drive. By the time he got out of the locker room, they were already down a couple of touchdowns, and they're not going anywhere. So I totally understand not bringing him back in, but yeah, that was that looked like a very weak injury. I couldn't believe I didn't even see the first drive of the game. I was still working because I'd work. I think that was the first game. Yeah, it was the Tampa game. It was the first game of the slate, so I was still kind of on the computer. By the time I got there, I'm like, Stafford's out already. By the time I got to the TV, but yeah, I mean, if he plays, if we're getting news that he plays, I understand the reasoning that you were talking about. Outside of him getting hurt, he just plays the whole game. There's no reason to start the game, just to play half of it. So barring an injury mid-game, I think then he just goes the whole way. And if you want to, again, like I said, if you want to adjust maybe a little bit lower because you think he's an injury risk, go ahead. I'm sure the market's going to do that too. Market's going to skew a little lower for that. So this could really be a good leverage play with Stafford in there, because I think a lot of people will be turned off, especially since he was knocked out so early last week.
Yeah, well, that's kind of just where I'm going with it. In this game, as in general, again, two teams with really nothing to play for. We know that the Lions are a very, very bad defense overall. They're terrible, particularly bad against the run. We've got the Vikings coming in here. No reason to rest anyone. They're going to be full strength. Besides for Dalvin Cook, who'll be out. And here, one more thing I want to show. Madison has got a Q tag. He's been dinged up a little bit too. It's not an absolute lock button. I think people are going to want to get down with this running back situation. I think it's a little sketchier than maybe what the market might think. Number one, Madison is priced up like a starter, and fuck that. Okay, let me just be clear. Fuck that. Okay, look at the salary on Madison. Do I really need this guy? He's coming off of a concussion and appendectomy. He's got all kinds of issues. I don't think the concussion is that big of a deal, but in the end of the day, Abdullah, Mike Boone, there's just a lot. They don't workhorse him. It's not a lock that he's going to be a workhorse, and he's priced like a workhorse back. He's priced 6,100. Like, hey, I'm the starter. I'm going to get 60-70% of the snaps. I don't like it. Not going there. I get the matchup is great. What's your take on this situation? Because I think Abdullah, Mike Boone. There are other guys that are getting. Where's my matchup sheet? There are other guys that are getting snaps. So I don't know, John. This ain't my thing right here. I don't like it. Abdullah's getting some snaps even when Dalvin Cook was in. There's another guy who's not even showing up here, but Mike Boone, who gets some snaps in this offense. Madison, I don't know 100% that they're going to give Madison 60-70% of the touches, especially coming off a concussion and an appendectomy.
I would tend to agree with you. If you go back and look earlier in the season, there was a decent split there. So for the price, he's probably a little bit overpriced. So you're going to wind up having. You're not going to have a huge percentage of Madison, but they should, on the whole, be able to run the ball. So that's the enticing part here. Is obviously the matchup's really good. So I wouldn't. This is not a total fade for me. Certainly not in 150. I've got to have some exposure to Madison. It's just not going to be probably very high. If
Madison was 4K, it would be a much more intense argument. But at this price, I see the chances of him like smashing the slate like more in the 5 to 10% range than in like the 35-40% range. I would think if A, he was going to get the full start, and B, he was priced low enough that quote unquote smashing only means scoring 20 fantasy points, where at 6K, we're needing like 25-ish, 27. At 4K, 12, 16 gets you there. So it's like 16 versus 25. At 4K, a guy like this getting 16 and getting me 4X, it's just so easy for him to get there if he's being used a lot. And at 6K, he doesn't just need to get the volume. He needs to actually have a great game. So it's very, very tricky. All right, so let's keep rolling. I mean, obviously, I think Cousins is interesting, and Thielen and Jefferson. Sure, why not?
Yeah, well, again, if you're going back to Stafford, let's say Stafford's playing, this is a very game stackable game. I think it's interesting from both sides. So it's one of those that you're going to want to have the other side as well. The Jones Jr., who buried a lot of people last week, you'll want to have that, and then you've got Hawkinson as well. So, excuse me, you have options on Detroit. I think this is a game where you're going to want to have maybe 3 or 4 players in this game, even using possibly again using Swift in there as part of the stack.
Swift is the only guy I like on that side, and I think there's way too much risk to fuck with this game as a game stack. Matthew Bad Backford, as I'm calling him, instead of that's my nickname for him.
Yeah,
Matthew Bad Backford. I'm not interested.
But that's why I think you're getting the leverage.
Yeah, no, I don't care. I don't trust him. And week 17, I'm not trying to get leverage. What I'm trying to do is let everybody else get cute, and I want to be on spots that are fairly secure. This one's just too sketch, man. You start playing these Lions again. It's week 17. You twist your ankle, you bang your back, and it's a football game. And you come out. It's like, why am I going back out there for what? So then they don't. So too risky, not for me. But John, you are a risk-taking man, so I'm not surprised that you like to play. If it's me, I'm betting the under and just assuming that, you know, I'll give it more than 50-50 odds that Stafford either doesn't actually play at all or comes out of this game at some point. By the way, people were laughing at me. I gave it a 20% chance that Newton would be benched on Monday. And oh, that's way too high. Like it came out. I'm like, I knew it. Damn it. It's too low at 20%.
His throwing motion is so brutal.
He can't throw. He's done. No. He's done as a quarterback. I said this for years. I told you all year. I'm biased against Cam Newton. I'm sorry. I'm not going to play him. And how much money did we save by not fucking playing him? There was like 2 weeks where he had a score that was kind of good. But all season, he didn't have one score you had to have, man. What a great fade all season. All right, let's move on to the next game on the list. I skipped Falcons-Bucks, which has a great total because, quite honestly, that's another one. I'm excited to talk about that game, but I don't think it's the best game stack. I went to Texans-Titans, and this one looks very sexy. As a matter of fact, I believe it looks the sexiest of them all for this week. 56-point total. Home Texans in the Dome. Titans, a motivated Titans team. Dude, I'm pretty sure there's a guy named Derek Poinery on the Titans who likes to run the football. And there's a team in the fucking Houston that cannot tackle or stop the run. This looks like the Derrick Henry smash week of the year. I want to see how much his salary is, but does anything stand out about the lines here? Anything bettable? Houston, pretty shitty. Titans, a team that people consider a dark horse to even go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, 7.5, and obviously, you know where the money's going. It's going to be going on Tennessee. Because what I said earlier in the show,
plus all the donkeys bet on the favorites only, right?
They generally bet the favorites, and especially week 17, they're only going to play teams that have something to play for. In this particular instance, I do like Tennessee a little bit here as well. I like good teams coming off of blowouts. That's a good spot. So I would take a look at Tennessee in this game, but just know you're going to be on the public side, and the odds of this game getting down to 7 are pretty slim. But if you do like Tennessee, it's probably worthwhile to wait. Even if it gets to 8, 8's not as bad. I'd rather lose that half a point up to 8 than at the risk, or I'd rather get that point down to 7 or half point at the risk of losing it up to 8. So that's my take on that. The total, high total, justifiably, I've got it at 57. So 56, right in that range. And I agree with you. This is probably the nicest game on the board. It's Derrick Henry's a special player, but when you start realizing how many times he's in a smash spot because of this division, with Jacksonville and Houston. That's 4 games right there, and then
It's helpful.
a couple other spots. It certainly helps. Yeah, you could run on this team. So Derrick Henry, it's the story that we have a lot. You could play Derrick Henry, and you could put Derrick Henry in your stacks as well, because if the game gets out of hand, we could get you could get Henry, and you might even want to use if you're gonna go the other side of that game, stacking the Houston side, coming back with Tennessee. You might even come back with Henry. He's one of those guys in a game like this. I don't mind not necessarily taking a pass catcher and having Henry with the pass catchers on the other team. But you know how it is with Henry. He's got to smash when at his cost.
Last week, Henry, had a dud. He put up 98 yards.
Yeah,
9.8. If you don't get the touchdowns, and Tennessee has gotten pretty good at throwing the football, throwing for touchdowns. When he doesn't score, you're dead because he doesn't do enough in the past. Like if you had a similar player to last week to Henry, right? But he got 102, and it was a guy who catches 5 passes for 50 yards as well. Like, oh, I got a 20. I got a 23. Okay. No touchdown, but I got a 23. So that's the difference. Like it's not what you were hoping for, but at least the difference with Henry is he needs the second touchdown every single week because a pass catching back gets 7 or 8 points from that. So he needs the second touchdown, not just the first. It's always challenging, but Henry's very capable of getting 2 or 3 touchdowns in every single game, especially against Houston. Now, one of the great things about this game in my mind is just the fact that Tennessee's defense is also epically bad. And so there is all the chance in the world that Houston will be competitive in this game and could cover the spread, all of that, but certainly to keep the pressure on. It's not like you're going to see, there's a reasonably high chance you're not going to see like Jeremy McNichols in the fourth quarter of a blowout. It's possible that Houston can stay in this game, which is why I like both sides. Dalvin Cook, Kiki Kuti on that side with Deshaun Watson. I'm still not, I'm not going to play David Johnson. I know he had the big week. I'm not going away from something I haven't done all year. I didn't play him last week, of course. I haven't played him this year, and I'm not starting on week 17. That's just not what I'm going to do. On Tennessee, of course, I just haven't played him all year. I'm not going to start.
Did you play in that little league that we had last week on draft?
Oh yeah. I came in third.
Oh, I didn't look at the final standings, but no, I took David Johnson in that.
Did you?
I finished right above you. Then I was in second.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, my mistake was that lineup that I put in was the only one where I didn't get off of Houston onto Carolina, or I would have smashed all of you guys. By the way, it was just
I had
what
Carolina.
we're talking about. Yeah, you had Carolina.
Yeah.
I had switched all my stuff in, but it was that one lineup that was floating in a weird contest that I didn't get to. But what we did, we had a staff contest last week, and all the DFS Army staff was in it. Not going to say I was proud of the scores, to be quite honest, but I believe Jay Nappy won it. I can't remember for sure, but John, I believe you came in second and I came in third, and there's about 35 or 40 of us in the contest.
Oh, was it? I didn't realize what that meant because I didn't check it because I was looking at my other stuff. But
yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I don't even know how many staff we have. It's crazy. Like I think 40 people were in that though. So very cool and very cool of Scott.
That was really nice. Yeah, it was really nice of him to do. So thank you, Scott. And then
Scott from the Veterans No Sports podcast put it together.
Yes, he did. And but the last week you talked about you weren't happy with the scores, but do you know when I quickly wanted to take a look at only 80 people in the Millie scored 200 or better.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy.
It was
I said at the beginning of the week, I literally said on the Players Club, I said, guys, don't tilt. This is going to be a low scoring week. I'm telling you right now. And those low scoring weeks are the opportunities to take down tournaments. So I love what happened.
I hit one of the smaller, like a 5,500 person GPP with 195.
Yeah, I mean,
I took first in that.
That's wild, and that's what happens on those smaller weeks. You can win tournaments, and you don't have to like go nuts. So, but I mean, you probably had David Johnson in that lineup or somebody. Yeah. So anyway, I don't play David Johnson. I'm not doing it this week. All right, so that's Titans Texans. Let's move on. Game 3 in the core 4. I've got the Packers and the Bears. Must-win game for both teams here. Normally the Bears are not that team like in Chicago where you kind of like it's cold and it's windy and it's miserable conditions. But 52-point total. The Packers are only 5.5-point favorites going into this. Packers need to win to secure the bye. They have to play. They got to play it out. As great as they've been, the bye is critical this season. They're going to have to play here. Bears need a win or some other crazy sequence of events to even get into the playoffs. So Bobby Wow, we know he's going to be rooting hard for those Bears. I don't even want to be around if they lose this game. I'm not dealing with that shit. But, as far as this game goes, I think we pretty much have a good feel for what both teams are going to do. The one thing I want to throw out there, I'm going to ask you betting angles first, but the one thing I want to throw out there is it's very interesting defensively. Yair Alexander on the Packers defense has been as shutdown of a corner as there is in the National Football League. He is not allowed to pass over 25 yards all season. He hasn't allowed any sort of good games by anybody he's faced, and he's going to be on Allen Robinson. So the Bears are going to be sort of having probably harder time than usual throwing to their main guy. They're a very Allen Robinson heavy team. Montgomery has been the chalky running back play. He's getting a lot of run. He did fine last week for all the whingers. He still got 20 points. He did just fine. And he's going to be priced up again here. So that's something to make a note of. 7,700. Pretty good matchup, but not as good, I think, as people think. And on the Packers side, I mean, I don't know what the fuck went on. A.J. Dillon went nuts last week. What do you think? Do you think A.J. Dillon was more a factor of a blowout, or they were just like, yeah, dude, get out there? Because I played a lot of Aaron Jones and got my ass handed to me in that showdown.
Yeah, that was Dillon was a problem for me as well. I still had some chances late, but it didn't pan out. Yeah, I think it was a combination of the blowout and the fact that this team is looking to win a Super Bowl, and there was no reason to really run Jones into the ground there. I do find it amusing when the commentators, it was Collinsworth, I guess, with the night game, they're like, they really found something special here. I'm like, dude, I don't know if Dillon's anything special, but it's just these, certain offenses. It's like, if you're a DFS player, fantasy player, you know how it is. You plug these guys in. Zeke is out, Pollard comes in, smashes. We just talked about Madison. If Madison plays, he's going to get his. If he gets enough touches, he'll get his. So it's about being in the right offense, and Dillon is in the right offense, and when he's in there, as is Jones. Even Jones wasn't good for right before being hooked up with this offense. So
it's very simple. We talk about this all the time, but certain offenses produce points to the running back position. They just do. Other ones don't, and they just don't. Having a good running back is helpful, but that's not the end all. Like if Aaron Rodgers is threatening you with the pass, you're just not putting an extra defender in the box. You're just not. As a matter of fact, you're putting one less defender, and you're saying, hey, let's just let them run the football so Rodgers doesn't burn us, and we'll see what we can, if we can, stop a third down play because we can give him 5-4. And, there's just an approach to football that happens, and that's what it is. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Devontae Adams, of course, you want to play Devontae Adams. Devontae fucking Adams. Lazard and Tanyan, sure, if I'm are we stacking this game? Like, and on the same note, betting angles here.
Yeah, so this total is a lot higher than it would have been maybe 3 weeks ago. I think maybe 2 or 3 points higher than it would have been a few weeks ago.
Trubisky has played well.
Exactly. So I always tell you I get a lot of Bears news, more than I ever want to listen to because of my brother. But from what he's telling me, they're sort of letting Trubisky. I don't know if he's calling the whole game, but they're letting Trubisky do what he does best, which sounds like what they should have been doing from the beginning. But a lot of these coaches sometimes they want to coach. They want the players to fit into their system as opposed to trying to coach the players that they have. And it seems like maybe this is working now with Trubisky. So that's why the total is a little higher. I would still say this is a tough matchup in the Packers. So let's just assume, we've got the Trubisky of the last 3 weeks is the guy that's going to show up this Sunday. That still doesn't necessarily make him a great play this week. So this is going to be a tough one to game stack. The Bears defense is still pretty decent. But again, the 52 total gives you some indication here that you might want to have some pieces of this game. So I will have both of them, both quarterbacks. I won't not be using either quarterback. I think I'll be kind of prudent on the stacks. I don't know if these will be necessarily 4-player stacks in this game.
I will not have any exposure to Mitch Trubisky. Not interested. I don't think that. I think this game is also. I don't want to say the over. I would be betting the Packers here. And even with the Bears at home, the reason I like it is because I don't think the Bears will have a hard time moving the football without Allen Robinson as the primary pass catcher. They do throw to the tight ends a lot. So, but I mean, I'm having a hard time envisioning, Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet, being the engine of any kind of an offense. Mooney looks good. Some of the secondary receivers are fine.
Montgomery's look good.
Yeah, and Montgomery has looked great. So the question, I mean, to me, this game that's why it's no Trubisky. To me, this game is going to be like, is Montgomery out here smashing or not? And so I'd rather play the Bears side of the game through Montgomery or exposure or fading. And I think I'm going to be less exposed to Montgomery than maybe other people will be. I'll be under on him as well. Just overall, I don't know. I'm not feeling it for this one. I just think the Packers defense is a little bit better than what people think. That's really what it comes down to for me. I think Packers defensively are just a better team than what people think. Their secondary is very good. They've gotten very healthy, and their run defense is, I'm going to call it, underrated. Their DVOA is better than what their fantasy, like when you see this DVP number, that's just points allowed to the position group that they use on DraftKings over here, this 24th. That's fantasy points allowed to running backs. The DVOA measure is stronger than that. So I'm going to go and just assume that they're a little bit better than and I haven't seen running backs smashing them. It's just not been happening lately. So I'm going to go with that in this game. Of course, with the Packers side, yeah, give me some Devontae Adams. Sure. Of course I want Devontae. All right, last game on the core 4. Raiders heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. Late game, 51-point total. Very close game. I like that. I like the 2.5-point spread. I like the 51-point total. It's a little bit under the radar compared to those other games. John, Raiders are 2.5-point favorites here. Man, I know it's donkey to bet the favorite. I know this. But
not every favorite is the donkey move.
I know. I was just watching a great podcast with Captain Jack and this dude called Dink, who's this great guy. I'm going to send this podcast to you after, and he was great. Dink is awesome. He's like this old school New York.
I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah. All right, who he is. Okay. Yeah. So the Dink was saying that like when he was first betting games back in like 1970, like after a week, his first bookie kicked him off the book, and he was only 4-2, and he's like. He was telling the story, and he's like, well, what the fuck, man? I'm that sharp. I'm 4-2. Like, what's the problem? He said, you're betting underdogs. I don't like people who bet underdogs. And that was it. I was like to that bookie, if anybody was even just betting an underdog, they're sharp. And if you're betting favorites, you're like a donkey. Well, so he only wanted favorites. And what he would do. Right? I was going to say, what that bookmaker was doing was he was setting the lines worse. So in other words, when you bet the favorite, you were getting a worse line. But to have a client who's betting the underdogs meant that the client is beating you, where that whole bookie's operation was, he'd take a -7 and make it like -8.
I used to do it all the time when I was booking games in college because everyone plays the favorites. So it's real, you just add to the line. Yeah, because back then, you'd have to get the games, and then you knew who people played, so because you'd have to answer the phone back in those days to take the game. So you're like, well, this guy always takes the Giants, so then you'd because it was all manual. Yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing of not having internet back then is like you could set the line wherever you want. Like he's looking at the newspaper from yesterday, and like, dude, that was yesterday. This is my line. You take it or leave it. I had a bookie who just took the lines out of the newspaper. I had one of my outs, which was great. The line would move, and he was still taking the New York Post line. I'm like, okay, this is nice. We'll do a whole betting show about outs and why having a bunch of outs
is important. And what's an out? You just said it. An out, guys, is when you're a sports bettor and you're serious about it. You again, this is what we talk about. This is why I have this awesome screen in front of you showing you comparative odds. A real sports bettor calls 5 different books before they place the bet because they just want to see what the lines are. Oh, and they pick the book with the best line. That's the thing that people who are casual don't do, and it's why they don't win. Like that's a bigger reason why you don't win your sports betting than any other reason. It's just you're not shopping the line. Just you're only on one book. This is just not what you should do. So, I mean, basic stuff. So, back to this game. I like the Raiders here. They've been a good team all season. The Broncos have not been a good team at all this year. Drew Lock, I'm not convinced, is good. He's had moments this year, but overall, the product has been pretty mediocre out of Drew Lock. He's 2 seasons in. Do we know? I'm assuming Derek Carr is fine and going to play this week. Do you know anything about a Raider situation injury wise? Because I don't know. Nothing's popping in my head as an injury issue with this team.
Nothing of any major significance that I know of. As long as Carr would be the only one, and Jacobs would move the line slightly. Waller would of course move the line as well, just a little bit. But as far as I know, everybody's playing.
I'm not even seeing Q tags on any of these guys. No. So, yeah, everybody seems healthy and ready to roll. From what I could see here, Waller, everything. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything on the Vegas side and nothing really here on the Denver side to be concerned about. Last week, Lindsey was out. He might still be out, which will give us Melvin Gordon chalk week again.
Good spot there. But, you've got Jacobs at 6,200. Now, is Jacobs in a better spot than Madison at 6,100? Jacobs is the bell cow generally in a pretty good spot. So, but, pretty much same prices. He doesn't have as good a spot as Madison, but of course, you got to figure out, is Madison going to get all the carries? If they were getting equal carries, I think Madison's in the better spot, right?
Yeah. If you knew Madison was getting all the touches, which we definitely don't know,
right? Then
sure. I mean, Jacobs has been shit all year. I'm going to say Jacobs was a massive bust this season. I'm sorry, guys. I told you not to draft him, but he was pretty bustful. Like, the guy plays the full season out. And this is where the bust comes from. You might be like, well, he had a 35-point game week 1. He's had more of these 10-pointers and these single-digit scores for a guy that's priced up 13. Now, you might be like, well, that's not that bad. It is fucking bad. 6, 10. This is a bust to me. For a guy who was healthy the whole season and has no excuses. Listen, I'll take a bust with a guy who got hurt. All right, shit happened. But this was a stud who played out his full role and his full season and just rarely had a good game. Rare. Here's a 20-pointer, sandwiched between a 7, a 10, and a 7. And we're not talking about killer defenses. Atlanta, the Colts, and Miami. Miami's good, but, KC, not a great team. Chargers, not a great team. Cleveland, not a great defense. So they did it against bad defensive teams, Buffalo and New England. So, like, there were a lot of misses for I don't trust Josh Jacobs at all. I mean, he's in the mix for GPP, but I'm not mess with him in cash games. No, hell no.
Yeah, I think they just got in a lot of games where they threw the ball more than we really anticipated. And he doesn't get a ton of targets. He's a 3-4 target a game guy in the passing game. So he's got to get the touch. If he's not getting the touchdowns, he's not likely going to be a guy who's going to win you a GPP. So probably need a couple of touchdowns from him in a game like this.
And on the flip side, Melvin Gordon, massive disappointment last week. Should have done better. They didn't hand him the football at some times. And oddly, and this is the weirdest thing from last week, like they had a goal line play. Of course, they did the stupid trick play, handed off to the crossing wide receiver who gets tackled for a 6-yard loss. And they went from the 1-yard line to the 7. And, that was Gordon's best opportunity in that particular game. There wasn't a whole lot of scoring going on in last week's weird kind of low-scoring, shitty-ass game. But they didn't throw to Gordon, not even one target. That was weird. This is a guy who's gotten 3 or 4 targets every game with Phillip Lindsay in the mix. So that was just weird. But, that burned him last week. I don't see any reason to assume that will happen again. And if Lindsay's on IR, I think you got to go right back to Melvin Gordon here.
I would like Gordon more than Jacobs in the game, just because a little cheaper price here, and he's had better games, than Jacobs had. So I would agree with that. I think Oakland has a little bit more confidence in their passing game than Denver does as well. So I think they're less likely to rely on Jacobs. They've got a really good thing going with Waller, so that's their main guy. Denver's still offensively trying to figure it out. So, yeah, this is a game where I definitely like the Gordon side from the running back side of this game more than Jacobs.
Other than that, DFS wise, I think it's kind of a barren wasteland. I don't really like playing too much from Vegas as pass catchers go. Darren Waller is always interesting in every game, and I definitely am not a big play guys from Denver guy at all on pass catchers. So I think that's it for that game in terms of my interest DFS wise. Now let's move on to the lightning round, and we're going to do our best to kind of power through some of these games, get a few angles if we can, or quickly figure out, fuck this game, I ain't messing with it, right? So let's see what we can figure out with the rest of this group of games, starting with the Cowboys heading into New York to take on the Giants. 44.5-point total. Dallas Cowboys, 2.5-point favorite. Fucking dynamic Dallas Cowboys offense smashed the Eagles last week. All of them. Gallup, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, just the whole trade. No one had the stack, but if you stacked Andy Dalton last week, you probably would have easily taken down the Millie Maker, and no one played it.
Oh, I had some Andy Daltons.
Where's your million?
I believe the Andy Dalton stack is what won my other GPP.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, where's the money? And since you won a GPP, can I hold $1?
Absolutely.
All right. We'll hit you up on that. So the Giants got a hobbled. I can't trust the Giants at all, man. Jones ain't right. He's still hobbled. He's still a little hurt. It's very obvious he's not himself. One of the hard parts about DFS is, I don't know. Last week he looked a little hobbled, but that doesn't mean over the course of this week he's not better. So what am I supposed to do with that? But if I knew I had a healthy Daniel Jones for a 44.5-point game, I might have a little bit of interest here. But does this have any betting angle at all? Again, it's the key number, 2.5, 3 points on this spread. No matter how you look at it, Cowboys coming off the game where they look good. The Giants coming off the game where they look bad. And it's sometimes betting lines get a little recency biased out from that. Is this a scenario where we want to shift our interest over to the Giants off of the bad recency bias?
Yeah, this game is, both sides of this game scare me. The spread and the total, I feel like the spread is a little low, considering the fact that they're going to get a ton of Dallas action for the reasons that you stated. Dallas is, playing pretty well right now. They're on 3-game winning streak, and all of a sudden back in the playoff hunt, they can get in. I believe they need Washington to lose that game, and then they got to win, and they're in. And the Giants have been struggling. Now, I thought the total should have been a little higher as well. So this game looks like they're kind of sucking you into taking this Dallas over, which if my instincts are correct and they're looking to bait you into that type of a play, that means from a DFS standpoint, this won't be a great game. But that's reading a lot into trying to read a lot into the lines and whatnot. So with that said, I would say if I was playing 20 lineups, I would kind of stay away from this game then. That in mass multi-entering, different story, but 3 max, 20 maxes, I'd stay clear of stacks in this game.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is a tough game to want to be interested in because you just can't trust Daniel Jones to be healthy. And again, on the Dallas side, this Cowboys, the Giants defense is better than they're not bad. Neither team has Dallas might have an outside shot at the playoffs here.
Dallas has to win and Washington loses and they're in.
Yeah, so Dallas, this is an absolute must-win. For the Giants, it's just a, hey, let's knock out our rivals situation. Are the Eagles eliminated as well?
No. The Giants are alive as well.
They are?
Whoever wins this game, if Washington loses, they're in. Philly's out.
Oh, all right. Well, that's interesting. That does make me a little more interested in this game. I love the motivation for both teams. I'm trying to see what Zeke did last week. I didn't play him. I just want to see how his week went. Of course, he had a good week. There you go. So, can you play Zeke and his dead legs? I don't know. That's going to be a decision to make this week. That's not going to be fun. All right, let's move on to the next game on the lightning round. And this one is pretty straightforward. You got a Steelers team playing the backups against the Browns team that has to win. To me, this is the most straightforward game on the entire slate. The Steelers are not going to play guys who are any good. Defensively, you want to play the Browns here, and you want to play Chubb, and you want to play Hunt, and look for the smash. I mean, what else is there?
I couldn't agree more from that side, but I would be careful from a betting aspect. That's a big number. I mean, what's the game Pittsburgh's playing their starters. This line is, let me see where it would be about. You're talking 5-6 point favorite, maybe 5 point, 4.5, something like that. Pittsburgh. So we're talking, this is a 2-touchdown move for pulling a lot of the starters out, which is a big move. I mean, we've seen Mason. We saw Mason Rudolph before, so we know what we're getting there. And Cleveland has certainly seen him before, so that'll be an interesting little rematch with Garrett. But from the Pittsburgh side, I would agree with you. You can't play this. You can't play anyone on the Pittsburgh side. I do think the running game, because again, we're looking at a low total. I don't think, here's the thing with Cleveland. They have not blown any. They have 10 wins. I don't know what
they do have a blowout.
They haven't. I don't think they've blown anyone out.
I think there was one. Let me see if I can find it, but I believe there was one game. Yeah, for the most part, totally.
They've been in tight. They've been blown out like twice, and then just basically been in tight games all the other games. Maybe they have one blowout in there that I'm forgetting. Yeah,
maybe I wouldn't even call it a blowout. 20-6 against the Giants.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that probably calling that a blowout. I think I was just watching that game like the Giants have no hope.
The Giants had no chance. It felt like a bigger blowout.
Yeah, it felt like a bigger blowout. But as I'm looking at it, you're right. All close games. Beyond that one game, everything has been close. And how do you lose to the fucking Jets, man? This is what you're saying. Like you needed to win, and you lost to the Jets.
It's tough when you lose all your wide receivers. I mean, they played that game. They didn't. Now here you go. Everyone was assuming they were going to run the football. Now, I didn't watch the game that closely. I would, you'd also assume that the Jets were prepared for them to run the ball, and they might have been stacking the box. I didn't watch it, so I'm not 100% sure, but I would assume that was the case. But at some point, you'd still have to try. They didn't attempt that many runs in that game. I was just shocked looking at the lack of attempts that they had. So you would think that changes this week with all the criticism. I think they get back on the running game. That's what this team does. I mean, I'm not a huge Baker Mayfield fan, but you have to give him credit here. He's been playing well.
Man, his passing looked like dog shit against the Jets. So like
it did.
Who was that guy?
From what like I said, from what I heard, it was I didn't get to see the game. So
I watched it, and who was that guy? That was I was like, he's overthrowing people. He looked like Cam Newton out there. I was like, what was this? Cam Newton take over? Cam fucking throwing it into the ground. I'm like, what is this dude doing?
Like I said, I'll give him a pass just on the not having any wide receivers is certainly not helpful. But I think they get back to the running game this week. I mean, that's their identity. I think that's what they like to do. Last week, I'm just gonna, that was just a wacky situation for them. But I think this week they try to run the ball, and that's what's going to keep this game low scoring. So I don't think stacking this game at all, either team, is the way to go. But I think the running backs here on the Cleveland side are of course in play.
All about Chubb and Hunt in that one. All right, so Next up, we've got an interesting one here. Again, Bills team, look at the total here, and you can understand even that the Bills haven't announced they're going to sit their starters. If you want to know if they're going to, and I find the spread fascinating, but I believe they're going to, right? I don't think they're going to play, and if they do play them, I don't think it's going to be a whole game. There's just no real reason for the Bills to play this game out. They're still 2-point favorites against the Dolphins. Bills are at home, 44, very low total. We know the Dolphins are a good defensive team. Bills probably playing the backup. Dolphins, we don't know who the quarterback is going to be. No idea. What do they do? What are they going to do, John? Are they going to roll Tua, who has been in there and clearly not very good? Are they going to go just say, fuck it, let's make our playoff run with Fitzpatrick and, at least in this game, let's try to make the playoffs and let's play the better quarterback that we have on our roster, which is obviously Fitzpatrick.
He's the better of the two. He probably gives you the best option here to win and to win in the playoffs. But I don't know. I assume that's the way they're going to go. They've got one of those situations where when the backup comes in, if you bet the other side, like last week, that situation, like if you're on the other side of that game, you don't want to see that at all. Even the other way, like if they bring in Tua to replace Fitzpatrick, because it's a change of pace. I don't like being against those teams that change the quarterback mid-game and then it's a different type of quarterback. When it's the same type of quarterback, not too big a deal because they kind of prep for it. They're running a different offense with Tua than they are, with Fitzpatrick.
It's not much of an offense.
I know.
It's a really bad one.
But it's a huge advantage. Like Fitzpatrick's just going to look so much better when he comes in relief of a game where they don't expect him to be playing. And he looked really good. I think you have to play Fitzpatrick here, and you've got to kind of run with him and see how long. It's a pretty good team with a good defense. So I think to get the most out of them, they're going to have to play Fitzpatrick and then worry about Tua for next season.
If they do that, I'm quite interested in Miami and their pieces. Even Devontae Parker, who's been a little dinged up, but let's see if we got any kind of reports on him here. But I mean, he's been a little dinged up, but part of that has been, here it is, 5,300. Part of that has been the salary has come down. Yeah, he didn't do anything last week. Got the hammy issues. But his ability to practice Wednesday, albeit limited, offers hope that he could return to action Sunday against the Bills. So he hasn't played actually since week 14, came out with the hammy. But anytime Parker has been matched up with Fitzpatrick, especially without really a lot of other pass catching options on that team, it's been good. So if Fitzpatrick plays, if the Bills are tanking, I'm not worried about Tre'Davious White. Maybe he's sitting. Maybe they're resting those star players. So maybe it's the backup corner, especially late in the game. And that's all you really need for your wide receiver. Even if they start the starters, but they pull them at halftime, okay, we could do some damage after the half. So I'll be interested in that combination. Fitzmagic, Parker for sure. And I think, of course, regardless of who's at the helm here, you've got to have some interest in Mike Gesicki in this game. He's been great this year, this season in general. Where the fuck is he? Where's he priced? No, not Gaskin, not Gesicki. I made that mistake and actually played Myles Gaskin instead of Mike Gesicki in the flex one day. I can't have two MGs on the same team. It's messing me up. So they got him priced up at 6,500. It's funny, he smashed last week. What a game he had, and that was a showdown as well. And what a game he had. But Gaskin comes right back in. He's in a good spot, and now he's priced right there with those other guys, with the Swifts and with the Zekes, and he's in that range, probably where he should be. I think he's in a good spot this week, though. Going to have some interest in that for sure. All right, moving on. This is probably the most disgusting game of the slate. Jets, Patriots, 39.5 point total. And you want to hear something crazy, John? 3-point favorite, Patriots. Patriots are favored. The Jets are winning this game. Okay? I'm just letting you know, if you like to bet on things, the Jets are winning this game like this, borderline, no doubt. Cam Newton is pure garbage. And I don't even think Newton's going to play. They'll probably have Studham in there. He ain't that much better. I think Jets going to win this game. I think it should. I would bet the money line.
I kind of like the Jets a little bit in this game as well, but we'll see.
Let's see what the money line is. Hold on. Look at this beautiful tool, by the way. You want the fucking money line?
It's nobody wanted to bet the Jets all season, and now the Jets are going to be the popular pick this week against the Patriots. So it's just fun. 3 weeks ago, everyone was telling me Jets are tanking. They're not trying to win. Now 2 wins in a row, and then and now they're looking for their third, and everyone's betting them. No one wants to bet the Patriots after what they look like Monday night. So it's just funny. That's why I kind of laugh when people say things about town, like just teams.
I don't want it to be a recency bias thing. This is for me more of just a Patriots are terrible thing.
They're getting worse, So, and as I said, there's no tanking. I've been hearing people talk about, Belichick doesn't want to win. He wants to get the draft picks. I don't know. He looked pretty pissed off to me Monday. He didn't look like a guy who was content with the way that game was going. So,
when was the last time Belichick made a good draft pick? Like, why would he care about fucking draft picks? That's not been a successful. The Patriots of all the team. Listen, I don't want to blaspheme the royal Patriots of the whatever. And the legend that is Bill Belichick, whatever. But I can't remember the last time the Patriots made a good draft pick. Like, that is not what they're good at. They're good at a lot of things. But much like other teams with head coaches that are also the GM, they rarely make a good draft pick, man. Their picks suck. I mean, Tony Michel, their picks are terrible. N'Keal Harry, they're drafting an extra first rounder doesn't do you any good. Sorry, Patriots fans. You have enough championships that you don't need to get butthurt by hearing the truth about your team.
Yeah, they won't be winning any championships for a long time. So
they might. Listen, Belichick's good enough to turn around, but you know what? He could use a real GM over there that could help them get players that aren't terrible. It's probably one of the most talent-lacking offenses in the entire National Football League, and I'm including the Jets in that conversation. I
think the Jets have better weapons at wide receiver. I mean,
and the Jets wide receivers suck, but
they're better than New England.
Yes, that's what's so crazy about this team. So anyway, I could see the Jets winning this game, and I could see them winning on the money line. As far as playing DFS players that are going to be in this game, Jamison Crowder, if he's cheap again, I'll go right back to that. I played a lot of Jamison Crowder. It was one of the best plays of the week last week. He's up to 5K. I don't care. I think you play J. Crow.
Yeah, I'm not getting crazy. Don't get crazy with the game. I certainly can't play.
No, I mean, but they're playing it out. It's not like the Jets are going to rest.
No. They're playing it, but this is not a game that I just don't see a lot of points being scored.
And it's very low total. It's in New England. Not a whole lot of good there. Crowder's probably the only play on that entire game that I'm interested in. I'm not going to be playing Studham. Jets defense, I think, is probably playable as well.
Absolutely.
All right, next up on the docket. This one almost made the core four. Wait, I got to take off the money line. It almost made the core four, but last minute I pulled it because I think the Bucs are just a good defensive team, and I don't think I ever want to game stack them. And this isn't a very game stackable spot, but we've got the Falcons heading into Tampa in the dome, taking on the Bucs. Does Tampa have a dome?
Tampa does not.
No, but it's just beautiful weather most of the time because it's Florida. All right.
It's nice. It's nice out right now, man. It's hot today. Actually, this weekend, I think it's going to, I don't know. Well, tomorrow is going to be in the 80s. So,
dude, if my kids weren't the age that they are, like my oldest is in high school, and you just can't pull a kid out of high school. You just can't. You do that, you ruin them. But if they weren't, I'd be down in Florida with you. Like, I want to get the fuck out of here. I'm sick of New York.
Dude, you and everyone else in New York.
Oh, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the fucking cold. I'm sick of New York in general. I would be down there with you, hanging out, taking my kids to the strip clubs in Tampa. It's weird. It's a different lifestyle over there. Where it's like.
Sure, yeah, they have daycare at the strip clubs here because
I know it's just a different lifestyle there. I saw it. I was you saw my I took the kids out to see Santa and the elves. It was
Yes.
great. At the club, and you go in, and they're outside. The elves take care of the kids, and you go inside, and you enjoy yourself. Have the wings. I don't look at the. I'm there for the wings. I'm just I'm into wings.
Well, if you go to Rachel's, if you go down to like in West Palm or there's Rachel's in Orlando, the food is fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you give me chicken wings extra crispy. I don't want the soggy shit. If it's soggy, I'm out of here. Extra crispy, unless it's spicy. Give me a few different choices of flavor. You got a customer for life. They're like, you want a lap dance too? Fuck away from me. I'm eating my wings. I'm like all filled with sauce on my hands. Like, yeah, you want a lap dance? Get the fuck out of here. I'm here. I'm here for a reason, and it ain't for you. Take a walk.
Quick tip though: if you make your own wings and you make your own, buffalo hot sauce, whatever it is, add some Peter Luger's steak sauce into your wing sauce.
Really?
And then let me know what you think.
Yeah. All right. Are you aware that Peter Luger's steak sauce is not meant to be smeared on a steak, right?
I've never had it on a steak. No, I have it with I have it with the tomatoes and onions like it was meant to be, and the bacon.
It's fucking salad dressing. Yeah. You know it because you're from Brooklyn.
Yeah, of course.
Pisses me off.
No, you don't
have salad dressing.
Yeah.
Doesn't go on a steak. All right. Fucking salad dressing, guys.
You just eat. What other restaurant do you eat like a raw onion the size of your head for an appetizer?
Let me tell you something. What other restaurant do you pay $70 for a steak to be treated like a piece of shit by the waiters who are annoyed that you're asking for something? All right, don't go to Peter Luger's. It's overrated.
Well, I will say this. It's hit or miss now. It used to be fantastic every time. Now sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Don't go there. You want to be treated like a piece of shit? It's like, I'll give you another one. See, look how we go the wrong way with this. I'll give you another one. Back when this restaurant existed, people who are outside of New York, they heard of Tavern on the Green.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Tavern on the Green. Oh, it's on the green. Wow, very fancy. Tavern on the Green was probably the worst restaurant that I've ever eaten at. Not if I just took the food quality, because obviously I've eaten at like Applebee's and shit, right? But when you compare the price of the food to what you were getting, couldn't be worse. It just the combination, you leave there upset. You're like, I can't believe I just went to this place.
Yeah, that was a very touristy place. I don't know a lot of people who lived in New York who went there.
I only went there once, and I was like, I feel like a fucking idiot tourist.
I was there for I had a like a baseball ceremony thing there one time, but that was about it.
Luger's isn't to the point where it's a tourist place.
No. Luger's is still like, we still go, but
yeah,
I don't go as often as I used to go, just because, like I said, the woman who owns the place now, she took over as the what are the purveyor, meat purveyor? Is that what they call them? The basically the person who picks out the meats. She's been doing that for like the last 10 years, and since she took over, it's like I never had a bad steak there, and I've been going there since I was a teenager. And then in the last 10 years, every once in a while, you just have a pretty crappy steak. So
I went there a lot when I was younger too, and different owners, different environment, but also that was back before steakhouses all kind of did something similar. Like they were doing something very unique. 50 different brands of steakhouse, basically.
Wolfie was the old what do you call waiter there.
Yeah. Then they had
and then he opened up 2 places, and he's better. If you're going to New York, go to Wolfgang's. It's what Luger's used to be.
There you go. All right, so let's continue on. Falcons Bucks. Here's my concern: 50.5 point total, 6.5 point spread. The Bucks are home favorites. The Bucks are motivated to win here. Falcons have nothing to play for. They're out of the playoffs. Again, the Bucks are motivated because if they get the 5th seed, they get to play the NFC East winner. If they get the 6th seed, that's essentially the worst seed. They're getting number 2, Seattle, New Orleans, maybe the Packers, whoever it is, they don't want to play them. So they are motivated, but they're also an older team. My primary concern with this game, John, is just like this Bucs defense is really good, and I think the Bucs can come out and smash the Falcons here. Falcons have not looked good against good defensive teams at all this season. Falcons have made their sort of bones on destroying mediocre teams. with their, or not destroying them, but playing good offense against mediocre teams because they have the pieces to do it. But in the case of this game, Tampa's like shutting teams down like crazy. They're a good team. So
they're good, but Ryan played well against this team 2 weeks ago. Threw up 30 points. They're great against the run. They're not, they're mediocre at best against the pass. You can throw on them.
There you go.
Yeah, you can throw on this team. I'm not worried about it. You could throw on them. And a matter of fact, if you look at the power rankings, they're one of the teams that Tampa's one of the teams that you like to stack, as is Atlanta. Now we ran into this last week with Atlanta. That looked like a pretty good spot, and that game wound up being a dud. But I would come right back to it here. I think this is a game that you can game stack. I would have, I personally would have had it in the core 4, but it's not my show. So.
Yeah, it was close. Like I said, if we did a core 5, it would have made it. It's called the core 4. It rhymes. You want me to fucking change it to unrhyming segments? Now we got to have things that don't rhyme? That doesn't make any sense. Wait a minute.
I don't know. We'd have to come up with a
like
rhyming
the live 5. What are we going to call it? Like the slive? That's a lot of thinking. But
the 5 that jive.
The jive 5. So one thing, if you look at the power rankings here, 323 yards potential passing projection for Tampa. Love that. I think that there's something going on with Chris Godwin. Let me just check that as well, because if we can get a Tampa offense, no, of course not. Is he off the Corona list? He had something going on. Well, I guess not. I think he might have been on COVID last week, and then he came off of it.
Yeah, I don't see no tag on him, but
nothing going on here. So basically, once again, you have that scenario where the Bucs, all 3 wide receivers are viable. Last week, you know who carried me to a fantasy championship? Mike Evans, baby. 3 touchdowns. What a game. I do have to say, I believe that Mike Evans has emerged as sort of Tom Brady's favorite target. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just statistical noise, but Evans has just been better than he's just been good with Brady for the most part. I've had him. He's on one of my dynasty teams as well. And, he's pretty consistent. He's getting you the 20s. Here's another 20-pointer. He's just been pretty good with Brady throughout the season. Not too many duds. And he's priced up now to prove it. 7,500 coming off the big game. I hate chasing the big game. What do you do in these situations? Like a guy coming off of that monster game, they jacked up his salary. And again, when we compare him to the other guys on the team, the Godwin, let's go wide receiver, but Godwin, cheaper, Brown. So Evans is finally priced up above all those guys.
Yeah, I think you're
going to smash.
Yeah, I think you're going to probably wind up wanting to have more Godwin than Evans. I think here. I just don't think the advantage. I don't think there's a $900 difference in the two. So I'm going to take my chances in this situation and just go ahead and take the cheaper. So if I wanted to stack this game, I would immediately look to get off of, like, if I'm playing one lineup and like this is the stack I like this game, then I would just immediately look to get off Evans, go down to Godwin, and get cheap. I like having the secondary option in a lot of these stacks, just to get exposure to a game that you anticipate obviously being a lot of points, and you could do it a little bit cheaper. So I like that. So I'll go with Godwin here.
There you go. I totally get it. Listen, chasing last week's totals, it sometimes works, but more often than not, you're paying up for a guy at higher ownership. That's the problem with chasing last week. You pay up more at higher ownership, less leverage. It's not good. So we want to kind of try to avoid doing that whenever possible. All right, let's keep rolling. I'm not going to, you could play Ridley on the Falcons. You can't play running backs in a game.
I was going to say, don't play the running backs at all, either team.
No running backs. And
I think Jones is back too, which makes it even worse.
Jones back is not terrible, but
no, I don't think you want to play.
It's better for Matt Ryan, not as good for Ridley, probably. Unless
not
Jones
Julio.
is out there.
Not Julio. Rojo, I believe, is back.
Oh! I thought you meant Julio. Julio may be back. I was
Julio.
You know something? What do you know?
No, I don't. But
I doubt Julio play. Why the fuck would you play Julio in a meaningless last game of the season?
Yeah, I do not think he will play. Yeah.
One person I might go back to is Gage. He had a dud last week, and he's been pretty
I'm fine.
good. Yeah,
absolutely fine with that. Yeah.
Might go right back to that. All right, Ravens, Bengals. Ravens are motivated to win. Bengals are not. To me, this is pretty straightforward. Lamar Jackson, absolutely playable. The running backs for the Ravens, all fine. And maybe Andrews, and that's it. I don't see anywhere else to go. I think the Ravens need to win. They're going to be out there playing their best. Cincinnati, it's just not a good team. And I don't like bad teams against good defenses. No reason to fuck with that.
I would agree. And I will say this, Baltimore never mind. Like, Baltimore does not mind to blow you out. And they will run that score up if they can. So
they will, but you'll also see Lamar Jackson in the fourth quarter from the sideline when they're up huge. There's a lot of risk here. Here's the risk with people are going to want to play Lamar. And here's my warning to you. You were feeling it on the championship week, feeling a little regrets about Lamar before he got some miracle scoring in late in a game that he was going to be pulled because it was such a smash. Essentially, when you're playing Lamar and it's a smash game, you better fucking damn well hope that Gus Edwards or Dobbins don't run for like 2 or 3 of those first touchdowns, because if they do and they're up, now the defense scores one, now you're up 28-0. Maybe Lamar gets one, he got to 17 fantasy points, and now your team's up 35. There is an absolute scenario where Lamar Jackson is sitting in the fourth quarter. We already won the game. They're up 38-3, kicking a field goal. It's 41-3, and you just didn't get there. The Bengals do not have the ammunition. They don't have the pieces to put up a competitive game most of the time. Of course, anything can happen. This game, not for me. For the most part, it's too risky to fuck with in a lot of different ways, outside of maybe those running backs. But I'm not a player of Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins generally. So how much is J.K. Dobbins? He'd be the only one. But, if the price was right, it's not. It's 6,700. Not. It's no good.
Yeah. It's possible because it's possible that one of these guys just gets a bunch of touchdowns here, and that's what's going to do it. But it's hard to figure that. So yeah, the price, I don't like it. He's never done it. He's never given you anything at that price.
You literally would have to have the ceiling game from J.K. Dobbins of the year for him to pay. Like, he has not hit. We're talking 7, 14, 20, 28 fantasy points to keep you on pace for 200. Hasn't done it all year. Why would he do it here? Why is he priced up? Fuck that. Okay, let's move on to Seahawks 49ers. Seahawks have to win to have a shot at the first round bye. The problem is, let me see what the time of the game is. This is at 4 o'clock.
They always play. They'll play all the games at the same time that have to. Yeah, because they don't want.
Yeah, there we go. All right,
yeah.
So the Packers are playing 4 as well. So, and the Saints are also playing at 4.
They have. They'll move everyone. They moved everyone
on purpose
for that reason, right?
Fuckers. All right, so the Saints, Packers, Seahawks all fighting for first place. We got the Seahawks here. -6 on the road against the 49ers. 49ers, Beathard. Didn't look too bad. Wilson looked great last week. I don't mind the 49ers. They're going to play to win. Seattle's defense has been good, though. And remember that horrible version of Seattle's defense, John, earlier in the season that was just giving up more points than let me see what the matchups tool said. I'm so curious at this point what the power rankings are saying about them.
It's come down. Yeah, it's come down quite a bit from where they were. But yeah, it's still projecting a San Francisco crazy number because they still give up a ton. But I wouldn't anticipate San Francisco throwing for 309.
No.
But I will tell you this: San Francisco is a better overall team than I think a lot of people think here, and everyone's going to be on Seattle. This is one of those games where you got to be really careful from a betting aspect.
I didn't even ask you about the betting, but yeah. is this a bet the dog scenario here where no one's betting it?
If I had to bet it, I don't know if this is going to be a game that I play myself, but I would just say be careful. Just don't use the logic like, well, Seattle needs to win and San Francisco's done. This San Francisco team is better than people think. They've just been like, this was a tough year for San Francisco. A lot of injuries, defense. Now they have to play this. They're playing in Arizona now. There was a lot of things that went on. This is a better team. They got a little bit unlucky. Don't be shocked here. Even if they win this game, don't be shocked.
Let me add to that. If there was ever a team whose personality was to come out and want to put the NFC West on notice that, yeah, we had a down year, but we are still the shit, and you still better fear us. This is the group that will be that way. George Kittle is back. He is a guy who is the team leader. He loves run block. I just love George Kittle. One of the best players in the NFL, period. Just he's a great motivator. He's a great leader, a great guy. He's back for the team. This team is going to want to put the NFC on notice. And we've seen Seattle disappoint a lot lately. A lot. And if they lose, it's not like they're out of the playoffs. They're just going to lose that bye week. So that motivation is lower than a lot of people think. I do love this 49ers here. I wish it was Mullins. Beathard, let's see what's going on with the quarterback situation. But, I prefer Mullins. Yeah, he's on IR. So it's going to be Beathard. There we go. We're going to get Beathard. He didn't look that bad, but it's really hard to trust a Beathard just as your quarterback. I'm 13 completions last week. It was a tough game. Only 180 yards. Like, running game is where the Bills, where the 49ers really excel. And the guy who's interesting is Wilson. 6K now. Oh, man. DraftKings.
They're putting all these guys in that range.
Yeah, I haven't studied the entire slate from a player's point of view yet. Like, I haven't made my sheet yet because I was waiting to get a full scale understanding of the motivations before I actually look at the position groupings this week. And man, did they price up these running backs to the point where it's hard to get them. So now you got Jeff Wilson, but the workload, 24 potential touches last week, 23 actual touches, 30 fantasy points. The team wants to score via the run. So, especially with Beathard in there, they don't really trust him to throw. I don't know. It's hard to get excited for a lot of these guys. I think I like Wilson, though, on the flip side. Like, not Wilson Jr. I'm talking about Russ Wilson. I think maybe the exciting side is Seattle. If San Francisco is making it competitive, Seattle's going to have to answer. And maybe it's finally time we can play DK Metcalf and just go right back to him. His price down. Where's Metcalf? Yeah, he finally came down in salary. Metcalf was all the way up. I feel like he was like 80. Yeah, he's been up in the 8s. Mm-hmm. Now he's back down to 7,300. What do you say, man? DK Metcalf this week? Load him up?
Yeah, no, not going to be loading him up, but I don't like. I don't have a great feeling with Seattle this week. So if it's going to be 3 maxes and 20 maxes, I'm actually going to just avoid. I'm avoiding Wilson. And in this, so I'm not going to be stacking the Seattle. So I'm not stacking San Francisco side either. But I'm going to avoid it. I don't have a good feeling. I think the San Fran defense is playing a lot better, and I think this game is tight. And I think it's low scoring.
You think it's like that letdown game, right? Where everybody again thinks Seattle's going to win because they need to, and it's just like they come out flat, and San Francisco comes out and they run it down their throats and they put it on them. It could happen.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to control the ball a little bit. Whether they win or not, I don't know. But 24-20 is not what we're looking for, and I think we could be right in that range. 21-17, 24-20, something like that.
Absolutely could happen, no doubt. Again, I just haven't played DK in so long that I kind of like, man, can I go back to DK? I like it when the salaries come down on these guys. I go the opposite way. When you start to see the salary like explode, there are times when you can ride with that. But there are I like to see the salaries coming down on these guys, not going up. Man, so many games. All right, let's keep rolling. We've got the Chargers and the Chiefs. Chiefs playing the backups. Chargers are actually road favorites in this one because of the backups situation. Yeah, I mean, Lockett. Cola's asking about Lockett. Yeah, Lockett too. I mean, I like Metcalf, but Lockett just hasn't done shit all year. He's like a GPP dart throw. So, sure, Lockett also, but Metcalf is the alpha at this point.
There's no doubt. But if you have a difference of opinion than I do, and you like Wilson, go ahead and play Lockett.
Yeah, of course. Like
5,800, I like it.
It's not that different of a play, and Lockett's even cheaper.
Yeah, 58.
Yeah. All right. So Chargers, Chiefs. Listen, the Chiefs are rolling out the backups. Chad Henne is not Chad Henne's a fucking throwback. It's like, what, Kenny O'Brien's the quarterback now? Chad Henne's still in the NFL. Did you know this?
Did not know this, no.
Chad Henne, was the quarterback for the Dolphins, in 1998 or something, or 7 or so. How's this guy still around? But meanwhile, he's going to be taking the helm. The Chiefs are coming out to lose. I'm not touching any fucking players from the Chiefs. As a matter of fact, I want nothing to do with these guys. When they go all in on the backups, you're probably looking at all the backups on defense as well. So I do like the Chargers' offensive skill pieces. They want to go out with a positive feeling. They are motivated to win. Their players are young. They have a young quarterback. They want to have him looking good and feeling good for the offseason. I like the pieces on. I mean, I don't think Keenan Allen is healthy. So if he's out, give me a little Eckler here. Give me a little Herbert. I don't love too much Herbert because I don't think the game's going to be super competitive. But I think Mike Williams is in play and all the usual suspects on this Chargers offense.
Yeah, I can see that. But I'd be a little... Yeah, I'm with you on the Herbert. Be a little bit leery because it just doesn't shape up as a game where it's going to be back and forth. That's what we kind of like for a GPP. So, but yeah, individual pieces for sure in this
More
game.
of an individual piece situation. Like, can I play Eckler? Yes, I think you can. Can you play like Mike Williams? Yeah, but no. Do I think it's going to be close? I mean, the line says it's going to be close, but close and low scoring, which is not what we're excited to try to take down tournaments. Speaking of low-scoring games, next on the lightning round, we've got the Rams and the... Now, this is a game, Cardinals-Rams. Cardinals 2.5-point road favorites. This is a need-to-win game, but with a caveat. Jared Goff is out. Darrell Henderson Jr. is out. We don't know Cam Akers' situation. Probably out. Rams looking like a shit show on offense, which means in order to keep this game close, it's going to have to be done defensively. Rams are still an elite defense, and they must win this game. Cardinals also in a must-win situation. I think this is too good defensive. Nothing to do with this game. Somebody asked in chat, should you play fucking Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts? Let me tell you something, noob like gaming. You play Jalen Hurts. Okay? It's not even a question.
Yeah, and Murray's hurt as well. There's only so many times I could say it. Don't play Murray when he's hurt, and now he's playing against the best defense in football. It's just not. It's a no-go here.
Do not play anybody from this game. Let's leave it at that. Don't play anybody from this fucking game. As much as both teams are motivated, this is a defensive struggle, most likely. And I don't see any way that the Rams can do anything other than defensively struggle because their offense under whoever that backup quarterback guy is, and no Cooper Kupp and no Darrell. No. Get a cheap wide receiver, Van Jefferson? No.
And Cardinals defense.
I mean, do you go there? Do you go like the Van Jefferson route? Is that in your 150 and your 300 that you're making? You're like, he's replacing Cooper Kupp. He's a rookie. It's 3K. Do you go?
Yeah, because I have to sprinkle some of those 3K guys in there, but it's not going to be a major play.
3K. Yeah, he is 3K. I'm good at this. So here's your guy.
Yeah, you have to because at 3K it doesn't take much.
The brown-eyed boy. Think about why I call him that. You don't know because you don't know anything outside of sports, and you don't know anything about pop culture.
Nope.
Van Morrison, brown-eyed girl.
Oh, brown-eyed girl. Yeah, no, I just didn't. I understood brown-eyed girl.
Yeah, but the name Van Jefferson, it kind of sounds like Van Morrison.
I understand pop culture.
His name is Van. His name is Van.
There's a million Vans.
There's only one other guy named Van.
Oh, Van as a first name. I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's only one other person named Van Morrison.
I guess Vance.
No, this is not Vance. This is Van.
I get it.
Anyway. All right. Maybe I'm the idiot. Probably.
Maybe.
No, I'm pretty confident that I'm the idiot. All right. Where were we? Van Jefferson. I'm not going to sing it. The brown-eyed boy. Van Jefferson, though, 3K is interesting for me. And also Josh Reynolds. Van Jefferson's very interesting. You know why? You know the other reason why I like Van Jefferson in this game? Because I've seen this phenomenon where when the backup quarterback comes in, that fourth, fifth string guy has been practicing with him more frequently. So he's got a comfort with Van Jefferson that he probably doesn't have with Robert Woods because they don't practice together very often. So just a little crazy GPP dart. If you win the million, Geek is my Patreon. Okay, that's all I got to say. Doing that, send a tip. All right. Jaguars, Colts. I mean, are they taking the motivated to lose? Jaguars are not motivated to lose, John. They've already locked up Trevor Lawrence.
That's it.
It's locked up. The Jets have delivered them a generational quarterback on a silver platter. Well done, Jaguars fans. You beat us. There's a Jaguars fan on Twitter that was going nuts on me when Jaguar Steve or something, and was going nuts on me when I was like, no to the Jets. And he was like, no, we're going to blow it. We were just commiserating together with which fan base gets screwed over worse more frequently by their team. So anyway, you've got the Jaguars, 14-point underdogs at the Colts. I mean, Colts defense, smash. I don't even know who the Jaguars are putting in at quarterback. Glennon, I don't know. Glennon, Minshew, I don't even know. Last week, their running back, James Robinson, was out. I don't know if he'll be back. He got the COVID or something. Colts, I think this is the smash spot of the year for Jonathan Taylor. I don't think there's any motivation here. The Colts, I do not believe, are in any sort of position to make the play. Or are they? Are the Colts have a shot at the playoffs? No.
Yeah, of course. The Colts have to win.
They're a winning your in team.
Yeah, they're one of the
and some other things.
Yeah, they're one of the. I believe if they win, they're in. They're one of the 10-5 teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they are a winning your in. So there you go. They're gonna just hand it to Jonathan Taylor and let him tear up this Jaguars team. I mean, that's what you have to expect to have happen here. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. We've seen too many running backs just go off against Jacksonville. This is, I believe, it's the worst rush defense in the league. Might be the worst that I have ranked, or they're up there. Actually, no, I've got
Texans are hold my beer.
Texans, Dallas, and Jacksonville. Yeah. So I mean, those are the teams.
Let's see if we can get. Let me see if I can find them on the power rankings here. Jaguars. Why did they move this game? Oh, they moved this game because they want all those games that matter in the afternoon.
Yeah, you got all those 10-5 teams that are playing. Yeah, they're all playing at the same time. So, but yeah, so Taylor. This is a Taylor game. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play Taylor here, and his salary isn't even that. I don't know why the Colts don't run him more than they do. Hold on.
So the Colts are not necessarily winning in, but they're just about in. I think there's a scenario there might be a scenario where they get knocked out, I believe, depending on tiebreak. So wacky tiebreakers. Losing, they're out though. So put it that they've got to win.
Yeah, they're motivated. So I mean, yeah, it's Jonathan Taylor game. People want to play Zach Pascal, T.Y. Hilton, any of those other guys. Good luck with that. It's really difficult to predict with the Colts who they're going to go to. But more importantly, I think the Colts will run it if they can. The last few weeks we haven't seen. Here's the scenario where they're smashing, right? And what's going on in this game? They're running it like crazy with Jonathan Taylor because they're up 44-27 and they're essentially winning in a blowout. Last couple of weeks, it wasn't a blowout. Even against Houston, that was a close game, so they're throwing a lot more. And they're a team that kind of seems to forget about their running back at times when they're doing that. I don't know. I can't imagine that they go up by so much that they say, because I don't think the Jaguars will be super competitive here. go up to the point where like, hey, let's rest Taylor and bring in Wilkins. I don't really see that because by the time they went up by that much, Taylor will have smashed already, and it won't really matter that much. I'm just looking for downside to playing Taylor here. I mean, can you think of anything?
I mean, I think it's such a high floor. I think it's and with a high ceiling. I think this is a high, this is a cash and GPP type of play.
All the running backs are bunched around the same price this week. I mean, you're going to want to get Henry in there at 9,500 probably, but it's really interesting how the running back situation. We haven't pulled one up so far in breaking down this whole slate and the whole thing where you're like, oh my God, I got to play this guy. Although we're coming up on the final game of the regular main slate, and maybe we another must-own running back. So you've got the Saints taking on the Panthers. Again, Saints have motivation to win this game, have a chance at the bye, so they're going to play it out. I will say, of all of the teams, the Saints have more risk of resting their starting quarterback, but so what? Fucking Taysom Hill comes in, and he's better. But overall, we have to watch and find out what's going on with the quarterback situation for the Saints because Kamara is the name that we need to discuss for this game. Of course, the Saints are 6.5-point favorites, 47.5-point total. Anything stand out here? Again, this looks just, I don't know. Nothing's popping to me as interesting of these lines. What about you, John? Anything stand out to you? 6.5 points. It's obviously right around that key number of 7.
No, I think this is pretty much where the game should be. We were talking before we went on the air how you think maybe this team's better with Taysom Hill. I think a lot of people are kind of in that camp. The thing with Drew Brees is he just can't get the ball down the field. I mean, this has been going on not just this year. So I think they're limited. What the advantage you have with Brees on the field is you've got basically an offensive coordinator out there calling the plays at the line, so he's got that advantage over just about everybody else in the league. But from a arm strength standpoint and skills, it certainly has been diminishing over time here. I do like I like what Taysom, the element that Taysom Hill gives them. I don't know if this is a Super Bowl team, quite honestly, looking at the whole NFC. But with that said, I think this game could easily be a close game. I do agree. I mean, Kamara now they put at 9,500. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you get 59 points, 6 touchdowns. He's 9,500 now. He's the highest running back. I can't remember. I don't know if the Kamara has been the highest running back this year.
Can I say just this one thing? Like, good luck squeezing these two guys in your lineup. Like, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, let me put Kamara and Derrick Henry." Yeah. Okay. Good luck with that.
Well, if I'm gonna if I'm fading one of them, like if I have to choose between one, I'm just gonna take Henry.
Henry over Kamara. I can make an argument for Kamara.
Oh, obviously, but I mean that's just the way I'm gonna go. If I'm gonna go with one high price running back here, it'll be Henry before I'll take Kamara.
Harrison Royals. The reason Devontae Adams is not going to be super chalk is because of what you're seeing on the screen here. You can't get Adams in there. You can't get two 9K plus guys in the same lineup. It just does not work on DraftKings almost ever, unless there's some miraculous amount of like guys. I mean, you're playing fucking Van Morrison all day long, the brown-eyed boy all day at 3K in order to make this work. It's not going to happen. So these expensive guys are not going to be chalk. Only one. There can only be one. If you want to put two, good luck with that. Which two?
This is why I said when you're looking at your stacks, start looking, look at the secondary stat like Lockett or, if those are the kind of the stacks that you want to be able to get in the singular pieces that are a little bit more pricey.
Absolutely. Let me just keep going and looking at this game. But beyond, I wish Jalen Hurts was on the main slate, even though this game, actually, no, not that
matchup.
Yeah, that's a gross matchup. But nothing on the Panthers side that interests me here. I'm not going to say that. You know what? Why shouldn't DJ Moore have a good game? Why shouldn't Robbie Anderson and those pass catchers have a good? I think they should. Why not? I get that the Saints are a good defense, Big shit. I think they can have a good game.
I'm not excited about it. Yeah, I just think with the amount of games on this slate and the other games I want to look at, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not looking at Carolina much.
I don't think none of them stand out individually. That's the problem. Like, which one do you play? Well, I don't like this team, but I think individually, any one of those wide receivers can have a good game, and there's no reason that Carolina can't be competitive in this game overall. And I think that, it bears out in the numbers. I mean, if Carolina's competitive, then you could see even more action from the Saints. Remember, the Saints don't have Michael Thomas, so it's harder for them to generate offense. I think there's some sneaky potential in this one that maybe no one's going to be on. I do think there's a little sneaky potential there, though. I don't mind in tournaments using pieces from this one. I don't know. I haven't seen salaries or even looked at projections heavily as of yet. It's very early in the week, still Wednesday, but I could see playing a couple pieces from this game, but not a focal point, most likely, for the week. All right, man, that's going to do it for Week 17. Really interesting week. Great breakdown. A lot of games on the main slate. A lot of players priced up. We're late in the season, so those salaries are kind of where they should be. Not a lot of value. So we're going to have to sort of dig deep, try to get those lineups made. I haven't tried to make any lineups yet, but I have a feeling it's going to be tricky, and we're going to have to squeeze in some turdly feeling players in there to make it work. So should be exciting. Reminder, you are back tomorrow with a Beat the Bookie podcast, from what I hear, with Says. And what's the topic of that? Do you know?
I got a few in my mind, so I'm not 100% sure yet, but hopefully it'll be something good. So I'm talking to Says about it, and I got a couple ideas.
There we go. So you've got that. I will be back tomorrow as well. New Year's Day. Is tomorrow New Year's Day? No, not tomorrow.
No, New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve is tomorrow. On New Year's Day, I'm coming back with a bold call, drafting the first round for 2021. So it's a fantasy football focused show where we're going to be drafting, using our knowledge of today. We're going to draft the first round and the second round of our 2021 season-long fantasy drafts. Part of this is something we do every single year. Says might say, you know what, you want to join? More than welcome. We do this every year to put down on paper right at the end, like fresh at the end of the season, what we would be doing, because then all of the off-season noise comes in and it changes your mind. And it's great to go back and be like, you know what? That guy wasn't even in my thoughts. Why am I thinking of fucking Joe Mixon? I didn't even think of him. And then, like when all the noise brings all these extra players, you go, no. I remember what I was thinking at the end of last year, and I'm sticking with it. So we're going to kind of do a little fun mock draft for our 2021 season-long draft on Thursday, New Year's Day, Friday. I don't even know what the hell day it is, but New Year's Day. And, of course, we'll be back with the Wolfpack Pod. Players Club, all the excitement. NBA's tonight. We got to get going. Make some lineups for NBA.
Yes, we do.
I know it. So thank you, everybody, for joining us all season long. We will be back in the playoffs as well, taking a look at these playoff slates on Wednesdays. So we're not going to close this out. We'll do these throughout, and even leading up to the Super Bowl, we'll have some Super Bowl props fun. I got a lot of fun things planned for the lead up to the Super Bowl. John is the master of games and Super Bowl fun things to do and shit like that. So, and contests and all that stuff and crushing them. So we got a lot of content to cover here. Football season's not over. We got another month or more. About another 6 weeks to go. So stick around. Remember, like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Good luck this week, everyone.